I'm Christine Carter, and born in Whakatane, and been really seeking for quite a long time. I can remember as a child being really connected to the energy of Wairaka. I can remember in my sixth form year really questioning when we were told about the theory of relativity and the timing, and understanding that the time really was about being infinite in all directions, and it was radial, like it was like time went on forever. And so for me that timing was understanding, just understanding that our timing frequency, we were taught at school this theory, but nobody actually really believed it because we weren't following it. We were still told that time was this linear thing, and we had a past and we had a future, and nobody really concentrated too much on the present. And it was interesting because we made the decision, my husband and I, to take off back in '93, sell everything up, and to do our OE that we missed out on when we were younger. And in that we ended up discovering that, our little OE that was going to be probably 6 months to 2 years at the maximum ended up being a 14-year journey. And in that journey we ended up in Mexico. And part of the journey at that particular time was we were really debating whether we were going to come home, because money wasn't sort of flowing quite the same as what it had when we were travelling through the States and Canada. And in Mexico we came across this group, the 13 Moon Calendar movement, and with that discovered a whole new way of looking at life. And the Mayan, it was based around the Mayan calendar, and what we got to understand is that the Mayans had been studying our time for many, many years. In fact, they came in from another planet understanding the time, the real time. And what we got to learn about was the time we had been following on our watches and in our calendar, actually was just man-created time. And that the time really doesn't exist in the way we had been taught, that there's this past and then there's this future tense, and you've always got to be, re-looking about the problems of the past and whether we can rectify them or whether we can change them, and then worrying about whether what's going to happen in the future. But most times we just don't even really think about the now of where we live. And what we got to learn was that in the Latin culture especially, is they know how to live in that time of being in the now. And then I thought to myself, well, coming from Whakatane and living very much in with the Māori communities and culture here, we had that back at home as well. As she'll be right, maybe tomorrow it'll happen then, and it doesn't really matter about the time thing. But the Pākehā way was, oh no, we've got to watch that watch and make sure we get there on time. And what I learned in the Latin culture was that no, everything actually works perfectly. If you are a little bit late, it actually just works out absolutely perfectly. Everybody arrives at the right time. And I can remember that in my experience on the marae as well. Is that, you can organise everything to the nth degree, and then it all gets all kind of uptight and under pressure. But on the marae they don't do that. It isn't organised to the nth degree, but somehow this absolute magic would all just come in and happen. And so for me, I constantly kept looking back at what I knew we had at home, and we were discovering in another way in these other cultures. But for us, what happened was that following these little dots and bars, which are just like 13 frequency, and then these little pretty pictures around, actually by learning and understanding what each of those energies each day had, is that we got to understand a synchronicity and a way how life would just happen, how it's really meant to be. And what we discovered is what was happening is we were actually starting to go downstream instead of upstream, as so many people do. And that when you go downstream, things just go faster, and if you listen to your instincts and your heart, that it'll all just happen. And it's actually, life is easy. There isn't any struggle that way. And when we were travelling along, we had no contacts. We didn't know people. We didn't have jobs to go to or ways of necessarily making money in a definite way. We just kind of used the tools that we had, and that synchronicity and that magic would just sort of make things happen. We would end up bumping into people and they'd say, oh, you've got to come back to our house. We've got some friends that are a bit kooky like you as well. And the next minute this magic would happen, and we'd end up getting work that just kept us going for months on end, you know. So we learnt that in the end, if you go with the flow and just with the magic of the real time, nature's time, which goes downstream, it has 13 moons in a calendar year of 28 days, which is the same as our feminine cycle. And it then has this magical 1 day out of time that then gives us the 365th day, that then is that day out of time that actually helps us to evolve to another level, as opposed to the old 12-hour, 60-minute kind of concept, which has us locked into this starting the day in the middle of the night, which actually it doesn't start in the middle of the night. It never has done in nature. It starts when the sun comes up. But you can't recognize that, because when the sun comes up it's different depending on the seasons or depending on the country you're in. Like if you're in the equator, it does kind of start at the same time each year. So yeah, so we started to just follow a calendar that went with that flow. We got to learn that the flow of that energy has an energy each day that we can understand. And what I then got to understand is the timing that we came in when we are born. There is a certain energy. So that certain energy that we're born in on is our purpose. And it helps us to understand who we are and what we came here to do. And that's what happened in ancient times when a child was born, like your wee one here, is we knew exactly what he came here to do. And so then he would get the right training, he would get the right understanding, and so this lovely wee man here would then be given all of those right tools, and everybody in the community would know what it is that he has to offer. So it means there's no conflict when he comes in to do his job or his mahi, because he's doing what he came here to do. And so if everybody in our communities all knew what it was that we came here to do, it would be just so easy, wouldn't it? We wouldn't have the conflicts. We wouldn't be saying, oh no, John Key's no good for the job because da-da-da-da. We just know whether he was meant to be doing it or not, right? Or the people that we're going to vote for in our councils or whatever. So for me, it's like we need to really understand that there is a frequency and a timing out there. And right now people are like all worried, oh, the Mayan calendar, it's going to end, the world is going to end, all this. No. Basically all that's happening is a 26,000 year cycle that takes us around our whole galaxy is coming to a finalization of that cycle. And right now we're actually in a huge band of photon light. And that photon light is bringing light to us and increasing the vibration and the frequency that we'll be able to live in. And so it's an exciting time coming ahead. And yes, there are going to be some catastrophes. And yes, there are going to be some earthquakes and some tsunamis and maybe some other things happening. But if we're all prepared and ready and understand that we're actually just a soul anyway, our soul doesn't ever die. It's here for infinity. So those that pass on in those disasters are just here helping us from the other side, because they've now got the clear understanding again of what we're all meant to be about. So we can be happy and we can celebrate them going at this time, because they're just telling us what it is that we're meant to be here for. So we just move into another vibration, another timing frequency that has us flowing in a different way. It's not about the fear. Just be prepared within yourself to be completely self-sufficient, so you don't have to rely on whether you've got power tonight or water tomorrow or a toilet to poop in, because, you know, at the end of the day we still need to poop. So get yourself a little porta potty. I mean, and then you've at least got, or you can even build a composting toilet and then use it for your garden, which is so perfect. Yeah. So we've got nothing to fear. So the calendar is just a tool. that can help us understand all of that timing that's happening right now. And so for us, we just followed with that timing, and the magic continued. So now when we do our work, it isn't about what money we earn or how we earn that money. It just happens because we're here of service. The bills get paid, we get things happen, and it's, yeah, you don't have to fret it, you don't have to change your lives. And that's why, you know, we live in a motorhome, we travel because we love having variety in our lives. We love the fact that we can be completely self-sufficient with our solar system. We use biofuel as much as we can. You know, the country still needs a few more biofuel plants so that we're not using oil or diesel to operate from. And that will happen. So yeah, we have ways. We can put, you know, wind power, especially when you're in a place like Waiohau here. There's lots of lovely wind. We could have a nice little windmill on top of here, but usually our solar panel is enough to operate everything that we need. And so that's what the calendar has taught us. Just come back to being self-sufficient and know who we are and what our purpose in life is. And when we know who we are and what we're here to do, there is no doubt, there is no fear. We know we're a soul. And we've just come in with this body for this lifetime. And it'll keep on going.
Two questions come to mind. The first is, if you had a title, what would it be?
Well, a lot of my clients call me the Light Lady, because we also work with the Bioptron Healing Light. And so when I phone up, often their husbands will say, "Oh, it's the Light Lady on the phone." And I like that title. I kind of, you know, in the Mayan calendar, I'm the sun, I'm planetary sun. And so what that means to me is light and a bit of fire as well. Sometimes I can be a bit bolshy. So yeah, I come in and I light the fire under people's bums so that they live their purpose. But I'm the Light Lady. That's probably my title, yeah.
Can you talk about what the Bioptron light does?
It's a Swiss medical device, so it's like a machine, but what it's doing is replicating the sun, and it utilises the energy of the sun and the frequency that the sun that we have, but without the UV part that's going to do damage. And it only has a small amount of the infrared part of the sun that helps for it to go into our body. So this light actually activates the cells in our body to lift their charge so that our cells continue to do the job they were meant to be doing. So sometimes if we have an injury or we have a weakness in our system for some reason or another, then what the light does, it just lifts that charge so that we actually do our own self-healing. So what we call it is, it's the light that empowers us again to do our own healing instead of relying on doctors and drugs that actually end up having a massive amount of side effects. You know, and sometimes we do need those things, but if we can use light first, most times our system's charged enough so that we don't have any health issues.
Let's talk about this event that is happening this week. What drew you to the event? Can you just talk about the event itself?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, for me, I had a vision for this myself, that for 11-11-11, which is not even the Mayan frequency. I mean, we're now talking the Gregorian calendar, but I mean everybody's been using it for years, so it has a frequency, and I knew it was a very important one. But what I got very clearly is that Māori needed to lead it. It needed to come from our roots here in New Zealand, because we're the first to see the sun in the world. We are the ones that awaken that energy the first. And what we needed is everyone to gather together so that we could put the energy out to the rest of the world, so that all the world picked up on this timing frequency that is taking us into a new vibration. And what was so magical is James ended up getting the call as well, and he decided that Waiohau, the marae here, was the best place for it, which it is, because this is the healer's marae in New Zealand. and it is the centre of the healing energy that's happening in New Zealand right now. These people are doing some amazing things. They've already lifted into the new vibration. I mean, they're wearing pink on the marae. The men are wearing pink on the marae. A beautiful pink, by the way. They have the young people. They've got the young people leading this all with the elders and guidance behind, but it's the young people doing the leading, doing the speaking, and that's what needs to happen now. It's the young ones, our young ones are the ones that have the wisdom, not us oldies. We've been through too much of our stuff and we get all bogged down in that. So it's you young ones that can tell us how the shift needs to happen. We can use some traditions, but sometimes those traditions aren't always what's needed to come into the new vibration, because the new vibration will have a different energy. And so for me, yeah, when the call went out, we were actually in the South Island. We usually do the summer in the South Island. So we drove all the way up from Christchurch to be here for this event because we knew it was so important. It's a major shifting, turning time. And the work that has been done here has been very powerful. And the people that were attracted to come all had some very powerful energy to have offered, and the last few days has all been about putting that all together. So that then what happened this morning was actually very brief. It just happened within a very short period of time. That energy went out and the world got the message. The understanding here is that yes, the Mayan calendar has layers upon layers, because they actually followed 17 different calendars. So where some of that confusion's coming from is some of that. Some of it also our belief system, and we, as I say, we spent time in Mexico and in Guatemala, so we kind of had a chance to really look at what was going on. Is that some of it, I believe, was just literally the correlation dates from the Gregorian calendar timing to the Mayan calendar timing. And in one area, like in the Guatemalan area, the priests there that were doing the analysis had a different timing to the priests that had the analysis in the Yucatan, Mexico part of the Mayan. And so there's neither a wrong or right, because they all hold a frequency no different than the 11-11-11, which is a Gregorian timing, which is absolute, sorry, rubbish. No, I won't swear. It doesn't follow any real time at all. We don't have, the Gregorian timing that we've been following was originally set up by the Babylonians to collect taxes. And it was done in a 10-month cycle, and then later on the Romans decided to put July and August in, which is July is the 7th month, but really September, Sep-day, should be the 7th month, because July and August just got pushed in between and pushed out September to the 9th month, and October to the 10th month, and so on. And that, from a language point of view, is just a screw up on its own. And then we have the fact that we've got 30 days one month and 31 another. I mean, if you talk about a form of measurement, that's another screw up. I mean, a builder would never measure his house on 30 and then sometimes 31 for Anyway, so we've been following a timing that doesn't even fit with our cycles. The Mayans,
It's actually led us away from nature.
Yeah, and it's completely led us away from nature. Many women don't know what their 28-day cycle is. That's why we're having such irregularities with our feminine cycles, and the masculine one as well. There are so many. We've been following a 12-month year. There's actually 13 moons every year. That's why we have the saying, once in a blue moon. So there's we've been starting our day in the middle of the night. That was so that we could recognise time. Where really the day starts in the morning. And I was so excited when the year 2000 came, and most of the celebrations were done at dawn, not in the middle of the night. So people knew that timing is not real. And those watches that they get us to wear actually are positioned right on our body's electrical system and on a major terminal for our electrical system. So here we've got a battery on top of our electrical system, and people wonder why they've got all these aches and pains in their bodies. Just, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I just say to people, throw away the watches, connect to when the right time is. It'll always be perfect. And stop getting so absorbed by this other time that's false. We asked this question of the Mayan, and we're talking people here now that really came out of the jungle to meet with us. And when they did, we had a gathering in Palenque, which is one of the main temple sites in Mexico, in the jungle, and we had a whole range of people from all around the world at this gathering, and we were very privileged for these people to come out of the jungle to speak with us. And the first thing they did was laughed at us with our wheels and our papers and our pens and everything. They said, "Don't you people realise the calendar's in your body? You don't have to write it all down." And they were just kind of looking at us like we were from some spaceship, because we were so much in our mind with it all, studying it and trying to understand it all, and they just kind of looked at us like we're these weirdos. Anyway, of course we all asked them, well, what's going to happen at the timing, because everybody that was a big key for them. And I can remember this beautiful man just saying, time will not be as we know it today.
Who are some of the people that you've met in your travels? Some of the ones that really stick out for you?
Yes, Jose Aguas, who was the man that put this information together, has done a lot of work. He was when he did all of this work to understand more about the calendar, he was the one that understood that the timing back in 1987, in August of 1987, is that it was the beginning of the 26 years that would actually be a fractal of the whole 26,000 years we've just been through. And so he called for the harmonic convergence. And you probably were very young when that happened, so you won't remember it. But for people of my age, it was a very significant timing. And many people's lives shifted dramatically with that harmonic convergence timing, because they knew that it was a time to connect in. And it's literally when our Earth just went into the photon band for this little minute amount of time. And so that's when we connected with that harmonic convergence, and it was a gathering, and it didn't just happen in one place. Although same with this gathering right now, the 11-11-11 is happening all throughout the world in many different realms. That harmonic convergence did the same. And it was just people made lots of shifts in their lives. But what I actually thought of even foremost was, like in Bolivia, the beautiful ladies that wear those lovely dresses and their little bowler hats on the top, and these powerful, powerful women that came out of these awesome tiny little mud houses that were just totally connected to the earth. And they really had an understanding for what needed to happen in Bolivia and for their people, and a connection with the earth. So in all of our travels we've met people that appear to be very simple but very profound. And for me they excite me even more than what I call the gurus of the world. I'm not really a big guru kind of person. I'm more interested in connecting into my own knowledge and bringing that through and understanding it. And even when I'm working with people, I only give them a little touch. And I say, if that's enough for you and you're turned on by that, we can do a workshop to help you give the basic keys so you can work with it. But I don't want to now tell you what your life's about, because that isn't real. Because then it becomes my version of that. I prefer to empower people to discover their own. Well, for me, the 11-11-11 will be leading to the 12-12-12. The Mayan calendar frequency actually finishes on the 21st of the 12th of the 2012. And so what will happen next year, so what we've done is preparation right now. And what I'm hoping from here will come is a vision for marae, that marae becomes the example for not only New Zealanders but the rest of the world to how we can live in community. For me, yeah, right now we're in a huge time of change, and that change only can happen if we're in community. That's what came out of Christchurch. Everybody was amazed at how incredible the community became. Why not have our communities really strong before anything happens? But continue that way. It's the way we can look after our young ones. We have the nannies to be able to look after them. We have the wisdom that comes from everyone in the community to bring up our children, not expecting the burden to be just on two people who have to work as well. So it's yeah, there's so much I believe that can happen right now, and Marae has the example. But it's time to start growing gardens so that we can be self-sufficient. It's time for the people to move back to the marae, you know, have places to live on the marae, all like the tradition. But that's just my vision of it. I really do believe that the time has come for that. Yeah. And New Zealand will be the leader of how the world can see it in a different way.